Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call this meeting together of the Trumbull Veterans First Responders Building Committee. At this time, I'd like to have a roll call done. I'm here certainly. Chief Lombardo. Here. Bruce Silverstone.
Here.
Dan Sacco.
Here.
Mary Beth Thornton.
Here.
Steve Lemoyne. I think he's at a meeting. Preston Merritt. I don't see Preston here. Okay. At this time, ask everybody, we'll do a Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. I believe Marissa sent out the minutes of our meeting June 22nd, 2020. Is there a motion to accept the minutes?
Mary Beth Thornton, motion to accept the minutes.
Do you have a second?
Second.
Dan Sacco seconded. Any discussion about the minutes? Hearing no discussion, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? No, none opposed. All right, the first item, let me stop here for a second. Is there any members of the public that would like to be heard? Any members of the public like to be heard?
This is Bill Chin. Members of the public can raise their hand, and it looks like we have one person.
Okay, go ahead, whoever that person is.
Sure. Melissa Trumbore.
I can't hear her.
I asked her to unmute.
Ray, it's Nina Boynton.
Yes, Nina.
You can eat. I have to be in my meeting.
Go ahead, Nina.
There are some concerns. It's been difficult to talk to the committee as, you know, with the pandemic and no way to communicate. I tried to get on the meeting on the June 22nd date, and I watched the whole meeting, but wasn't able to speak.
Can you get my email in here? I don't know how to get it.
Go ahead, Nina.
I'm sorry. The question a lot of people have is whether or not this facility is going to be exclusively a veteran center, or will it be a combination of what many of the area residents would like to see in the style and whatnot, and a section of the building for the veterans?
The current design plan is the identity of the building committee is Trumbull Veterans and First Responder Center. The building use is going to be primarily for veterans and for first responder training. There'll be a separate section of the building exclusively for veterans where they'll be able to hold meetings and store whatever material that they need. And there'll be a large function room, and there'll also be training rooms for returning veterans so that we can implement some training for any returning veterans from most current wars or any veterans whatsoever. It's also going to be a facility where we'll be able to facilitate health clinics, health forums for veterans, and not just Trumbull, but in the surrounding areas. So this proposal, this design proposal has been out in the public domain for almost a year now. It's been presented to the VFW, the commander and the members approved it. It's been presented to the American Legion, the commander and members approved it. There are 4 members of this committee who are veterans themselves. It has been presented to the town council, the park commission, the board of finance, the Trumbull EMS Commission. Chief Lombardo, who is also a part of this committee, has also signed on for the design. It's been presented to State Senator Marilyn Moore, State Representative Dave Rutigliano, State Representative Ben Gordy, former State Representative and Korean veteran Bill Bavacqua, the Trumbull Rotary Club, the Trumbull Chamber of Commerce, numerous private citizens and neighborhood groups in and around Teller Road. So this has been a design that has been out. It has met almost exclusively with a great deal of enthusiasm, and I think it's a necessary facility not only for the veterans and first responders, but also for the community in general. So I don't know if that answers your question or not, but it has been pretty fairly vetted in our community.
Well, Ray, you came to my home over a year ago, and you came to my home as a result of having been at the first selectman's office, and they recommended you come and see me as
Yep.
I was investigating future buildings or gardens, just in, talking to people and what they wanted to have done at Katz's Pond. Once you vacated the building, people started looking into what they wanted to have. And in the neighborhood, the most frequent term that came up was rustic. Additionally, there were people who don't want anything built there and to make it strictly a garden. I, for one, am concerned that if this site is strictly made into a veteran center, that could definitely not dispel, but be a negative with regard to renting and making money. What a lot of people were suggesting is that a building be made, and people would have to vote on it, and that it would facilitate weddings, bar mitzvahs, large groups, have a fully capable working kitchen, not a serving kitchen, not a plating kitchen, but a fully operational kitchen. And one of the ways to market this place would be through different groups who want to hire their own chef. I, for one, believe that this building should not be strictly a veteran center.
It's not strictly a veteran center. I think I made that clear in the beginning, that it's a building that will have certainly rooms available for veterans and for first responders, but it also has a very large 150 to 175 capacity events room, which will have a service kitchen and a service bar, which will be set up for parties such as you described, weddings, whatever kind of activity that 150 to 175 people will accommodate. So it's a community center in a sense, but it's also primarily a veteran center and first responder center. And the reason for that is this. The reason for that is we have to be able to our charge is to generate generate revenues, grants, and other forms of financing for this project other than strictly doing a town bond. So in fact, the next part of our program, or the next part of our agenda will be a report of the development committee. But we've been charged to look into state, federal, private, and corporate donations to fund this building. And in order to do that, we have to have the right mix of veterans, first responders, and the community in order to get the to cast a wider net so we can get more revenues for the project. That's why it is been designed the way it's been designed.
So Ray, if I can jump in for a second.
Sure, go ahead.
Nina, this is Bruce Silverstone. Just for the record, Nina and I are neighbors. Nina, the development committee has put together a little plan that we're going to present shortly. And you'll see within this that we have very appropriate and broad opportunity for residents to, in fact, be able to use and rent a facility. And we talk about that. So from that perspective, Nina, that will happen.
I understand being able to rent it. What I'm saying is that the first thing, well, when somebody's trying to rent it, say for a wedding reception, and you say, do you want to go to so-and-so pavilion or do you want to go to the Veterans Center? For a marketing position for whomever is managing the building, the design shouldn't be primarily, you know, I saw the plans, Ray, you made them available to me. I've
Okay.
showed them to a number of people who don't like that particular building that your friend drew up, the architect, in that location. You have a vestibule, you have somebody walking through a monument area. You know, you have classrooms, that's all fine. I think that this building committee is made up solely of the veterans group. And
That's not true, Nina.
Well,
First of all, let me
okay,
stop
and
you.
first
That's not true.
responders,
That
okay.
is not, Lena, that is not true. I said 4 of the members of the committee were on the veterans, we're veterans. The property has a 60-year lease remaining on it to the 2 veterans organizations. So the
Ray,
town-
that was, Ray, when you walked away, I was there the night of your last meeting. And Mr. Mulgar said the units were very grateful that the town was relieving them of the responsibilities of their lease, which included paying the expenses.
That
Now,
is the current situation now, Nina. They're relieving them of the responsibility now. When the building is built, there's going to be a different agreement reached with the town of Trumbull. Okay?
Exactly. I understand that. In fact, what I'm disputing is that the previous lease is still in effect, and that would allow you, I don't know, right of first refusal for a new lease. And I know that's being drawn up, and it has to be very specific because this is going to be a money-making location. I get all that. But what I'm saying is you've got 4 members on the committee who are veterans. You have 2 people from the town council. Where is the average citizen represented, the average resident, excuse me, of the people that live in this area? That's what I'm saying. There isn't representation other than the 4 veterans.
So Nina, I would contend that the 4 veterans are average people. They may be veterans, but they do other things within the context of our community, supporting the community in a variety of ways. So I'd say the 4 veterans are very average folks.
Okay, let me put it another way. You were not asked to be on this committee, but for your history of being a veteran.
That's not true.
And don't get me, what
No,
do you
that's
mean,
not
right?
true. That's not true. That's
And
not
why
true.
did you bother coming to me? I've been to the first selectman's office. I've been to Rena Bacalar. A lot of people want to see a building put in there. and nothing like the one that you designed that you said was so
Nina,
widely
Nina,
accepted.
I don't want to get into an argument with you, but honestly, in the beginning of this conversation, I read off to you a list of the people. We have presented this to every organization, veterans, to community organizations, to private citizens. Not a single person aside from yourself has raised any issue with regard to the design of this building. You say there are other people out there. Who are they?
Well, Ray, if you want me to get a group of them together and come to the next meeting, we can do this.
Well, you're a little late to the table right now, because we put out an RFQ for an architect, which we were going to be discussing later on, and we're going to be discussing candidates and interviews. We've been at this for quite a while now. And
Ray, I know that. I was
frankly,
at the March meeting.
your idea of a barn, I told you from the very beginning, was not a viable one, because you want the 2-story building, which will require handicap accessibility. That means an elevator, and there wasn't a space large enough to do the gatherings. And honestly, if the architect or person who had an interest in doing this kind of design was watching out for the RFQ, they would have submitted a proposal for that. They have not done that.
First of all, Ray, that was one building that people liked. One. I have traveled throughout New England and Pennsylvania looking at architectural designs and gardens so that we could have a better presentation to bring back to the people in the area and the town in general. You came to my home, you didn't like the barn, that's fine. That's just one item. Now, you asked me to speak on your behalf at the town council meeting in January, which I did. But I also said to you, I'm not in favor of this being entirely a veteran-driven center.
Well,
I think, this is what I said to you. Just repeat it.
You continue to miss the point here. It is not just a veteran center. We specifically said it was not just a veteran center. We said it was a veterans, first responder, and community center. And that's what it is. That's the proposal we're discussing here. It's exactly what you've described. It's just not the design that you like.
Ray,
And
you don't know
sorry
the design
about
I
that,
like.
but
Ray,
I'm
you
sorry
don't
about that,
know the design I like because you haven't seen it.
I have
You
seen
saw
show me the
one
pictures of the barn.
brochure, you saw one brochure of a barn,
Okay,
and that's all you saw.
all right.
I've been doing this for 2.5 years.
Okay.
I have talked to conservation people up in New Hampshire, up in Canada, regarding the water at Katz's Pond. I told you about how we could increase parking at this location, up to and including spaces up on Whitney Avenue with a staircase coming down to the current driveway. This isn't something that I'm sitting here going, oh, I want a barn. I've done this for a lot of people, and you asked me to support you, and I said the same thing. You said you would. Now we've got the one design.
No, we haven't finished the design. We have a design concept. We're going to discuss with an architect what the final design is going to be. It may be very much like the one we have as conceptually, and it may not be. That's going to be up to the committee to decide that, working with an architect.
Well, I tried to submit a company who is made up of engineers, designers, and builders. You said, not now. This is our first meeting. Then we had the pandemic, so there wasn't any meetings until June. I had all this information. I was going to present it on June 22nd. And because you couldn't get in to the virtual meeting, I watched the meeting. I attended the meeting, but trying to raise my hand and speak, it wasn't working. I tried calling you that night. I tried calling Bruce Silverstone And I finally got a hold of Sujata, who informed me she's not on the committee. She's just handling the fundraising. So for you to say I'm a little late is insulting.
Well, if I insulted you, I apologize.
Greg, can I jump in just quickly?
Yeah, go ahead, Jim.
All right, this is Attorney Nugent. Listen, there's a process here for the selection of architects for this project, like there are for any other project in town. A formal request for qualifications has been advertised by the town purchasing agent. There are deadlines for submission. There have been qualifications by architects submitted, and the committee's charge is to review them, as every building committee must do, and decide who they're going to select. So it's not really like you just come up with ideas. There's a formal process that must be followed, and we are following it to the T. So regardless of whether people have a concept about this, an architect must have submitted a request for qualifications in order to be considered. And Kevin Bova here is our purchasing agent. The deadlines, what was the deadline, Kevin?
May. Good
Oh,
question.
no, that's like June 10th.
June 10th?
June 10th.
Okay, so we're past that point. So that's where we are in terms of selection of architects, and that's why we need to move forward. I just want to make sure that's clear for the record.
I appreciate you explaining that to me. I am aware of it, but the people and the designers of several of these projects, they are not architects. So they would have to work with an architect if you so wanted one. But they work independently. Their designers are at their main headquarters. So there wasn't an opportunity to interject that information because it wouldn't fall into the category of being an architect. Okay, that's why I'm bringing that up.
Well, Nina, could you do this for us then? Could you submit what it is you're looking for with the name of the company, and that'll be a consideration for this committee?
Fine. And they will work with, if you so desire, spending additional money to hire an architect, and maybe that's the only way any building in this town will be built.
I'm not sure I understand what you, I'm not.
Well, you can build a building with a designer as long as all the engineering and the mechanicals are done. But you don't necessarily have to hire an architect.
Actually, we do,
Now-
under our building committee rules.
Yeah, actually.
Okay, that's what I just said. If that's
Well,
the
that's what I
rules,
just
then
said.
that's the rules. I get that. But I'd hate to see some designs go out the window because they're not falling into the category of an independent architect. Rather, they're
Well,
designers.
I would
That's
ask that you submit whatever information you can to us. We'd be happy to, I'm sure the committee happy to look at it. And once we select the architect, well, we can review it with the architect as well to see whether it's feasible for this site or not.
Okay, I just want to say one more thing, Ray. And then I'm going to let you guys proceed with your meeting. And I appreciate you letting me voice my concerns. And I have all the feedback from the people I've talked to. You have as well. The site as a whole, since you came to me and said, you know, we're doing this, we want that, I completely went back and reviewed a lot of my information that I gathered so that the barn situation went out the window because it wouldn't accommodate the needs of the veterans. Now, at the time, I was just saying veterans. I don't know anything about the first responders. But I came up with something that I think would be very appropriate, that includes all of the first responders and the veterans, in name this site, the Sentinel. Don't know how you feel about that.
Rename the site the Sentinel?
Well, so you can build the building. It's there, you know, we're going to take care of our veterans and first responders, whatever their needs are, and build that within the facility. And I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, when you came to me, what would be an appropriate name for the structure and the location? And I struggled with it. You know, the Trumbull VFW and first responders, it's long and it's not necessarily attractive to say somebody who wants to plan their wedding reception there. And don't get me wrong, my family is very involved in both first responding as well as military service. I am not anti any of these groups, and I hope no one would think that. What I wanted to do was have a name, a designation for that location, and what it means. The Sentinel represents all of you.
Okay, we as a committee we can consider a name for the building. I mean, that's something that's down the road quite a bit, but we certainly.
It is. I understand that. But I think it's befitting all of the people who have made so many sacrifices, and it represents every aspect of the group that you're trying to support.
All right, if you would submit your naming request along with the other information, that would be helpful to the committee.
All right, I'm going to sign off. I thank you all for listening, and I look forward to assisting in any way I can.
No, I appreciate that.
That's it.
I appreciate that, Nina. Thank you.
All right, take care.
Thank you.
Are there any other members of the public that wish to be heard? Okay, seeing none, we'll close public comment. The next item on the agenda is the report of the Development Committee consisting of Bruce Silverstone, Dan Sacco, and Steve Lemoyne. I'm hopeful that everybody got a copy of the report that they did. And Bill, hopefully you'll be able to put it up on a screen. You will? Wonderful.
So Bill, don't put it up yet. I want to make a couple of comments before we do that, if that's okay. So I just want everyone to know this was a joint effort with Dan and Steve and myself that actually we're very proud of. And why did we we put together some thoughts and ideas together in a bit of a planning document. And we thought this would allow us to have really a roadmap as we begin the fundraising initiative. And it would also allow us as a committee, in the event someone asks us what we're doing and why we're doing it, we could then hold up our plan. This is obviously not an official document, but it's presented in the spirit. And I emphasize in the spirit of wanting to do the right thing while leaving no stone unturned from the perspective of developing funds. Bill, if you can put the document up, that'd be great. Thank you. So let me begin. Nina, are you still on the phone or on the line? Okay. So we've titled this Veterans and Community Centered Development Plan, which would have addressed something Nina brought up. We neglected to include first responders. So from our perspective, this isn't a name of the organization, but just helps us focus the plan. So it's for veterans, first responders, and really the community as well. So as an objective, it's really, our objective for this, our group and our committee really, is to plan, initiate, and execute contribution and donation programs to assist in building the new center. Pretty simple, very, very, very simple. And our strategy is really to develop programs to identify and then solicit specific audiences within Trumbull and the local region, within the state, and certainly nationally. I mean, we think there are some national organizations that may, in fact, want to be supportive of this effort. Based upon donation levels for each audience, we will offer recognition through press releases, various promotional programs, and within the new building itself. One of the things that when in doing promotion and talking about a program, it's sometimes nice to have a theme. So this is the theme that we came up with, and that's not a name for the building, different than Nina was talking about. It's a theme for our development program. And it's really Trumbull Remembers, honoring those who serve. And in this instance, serving is not just folks in the military, but it's fire, it's police, and it's EMS. So it's everyone who is serving, who has served either the country or serving the town, serving locally. So that's the perspective. So this is a suggestion that we have. Then we've included some messaging, and you say, well, what are you talking about? What is messaging? Really, these are 5 very simple messages that we all can use as we go out and fundraise. Now, we'll tailor them for a specific audience. We will maybe not include 1 or 2 if we're talking to somebody else, but these are 5 general points of information that we can use, we can all use as we go out and talk to people. So the first one is, this building, this facility, this edifice will be a meeting and gathering place for local veterans and first responders. Pretty simple. It will also serve as a training and education facility for Trumbull Emergency Services, including police, fire, and EMS. There will be an opportunity to receive recognition for a business or an organization, or for a family, or a family can memorialize a friend or relative. It will be a focal point for all veteran services, and it will serve as a meeting place for any community organization. And, you know, parenthetically, and we can make the statement here, that will also be allowed, it will be available for all Trumbull residents to rent the facility. And this is, I'm sorry Nina's not still on the phone, because she would see that we've addressed this specifically. So really, we have an objective, a strategy, a theme, and some very specific messaging. There will be other messages. Each of you will come up with your own, but these are some basic ones to get us started. Now I'd like to turn this over to Dan, who will walk us through the target audiences. Dan?
Okay. Hey, just for the record, I'm on this board representing the VFW and the American Legion, and I'm surprised to hear there are 4 members, because I don't see any faces at any meetings. So I know 2 of them never been to a meeting ever. So there might be 4 of us here, but there's only 1 other person I've ever seen at any meeting, just for the record. And so let me get into this with target audiences. So what you've asked us to do is say, what will we do to try to raise funds? How will we go about doing this? And so we designed 2 separate programs. One is for corporations. How do we go to corporations? What do we ask from them, and what do we do? And how do we go to individuals? So let's start with corporations. And we discussed what the top level would be. Is it 50,000 or 100,000? We'll need some guidance. We'll say, what is that level we could reach from corporations that we should strive for? And we attempted to put names to it so that we can identify what they are. 100,000 Stars and Stripes, 50,000 Freedom level, 25,000 the Honor level, and 10,000 the Independence level. So what does a corporation get if they contribute and be a part of this? We want to make sure we can tell them that we'll do a press release with them in any way, shape, manner, or form to distribute it and give them full credit for their contribution. That in any public gathering we have concerning the building center and materials that we do, we'll identify them as a contributor so that they can earn the credit for what they've contributed. That we will mention them on the town and the VFW website so that the names will always be there so that it could be gathered and the people will understand what they did. We'll give them an opportunity to speak at a public function whenever we open the building or do something to do an announcement. We give them a chance to have some chance to speak and represent themselves at a thing. We want to give them back a plaque or some kind of an award highlighting the gift and do that ceremony at their location, whether that be a national meeting they're having, a regional meeting in their offices, so we can go to their building and their people that work in their corporation could know that they've contributed and what they've done, and we can pay our respect and say thank you there. And then we thought as an added discount, something that they could pass on to their people, especially if they're local, a rental discount, something like a 10% discount for their employees to rent the building so that they can pass something to their people and say, here's something that we got for you out of this. And maybe it lasts for a certain period of time, like 3 years. So let's give them benefit that they can pass on and say something they're proud of and continue to do. And then as we go forward and decide what the design looks like and what the building looks like, there could be naming rights to the rooms and different things into the building to say, here's something else that could be gathered. When we got down to the individual levels, we drew 3 levels. We called them Valor, Patriot, and Spirit. And they were 10,000, 5,000, and 2,500. And we're open to discussion if those levels sound right to this board. And again, the benefits would be a mention in press releases. If they don't want to do it anonymously, we realize some might want to do it anonymously, but if they want a press release, we will be willing to do a press release for them. A framed letter of thanks that will be signed by the VFW commander and one by the American Legion commander, so they'd have framed letters from both commanders thanking them as individuals for their contribution. I certainly reserve seating at the ribbon covering ceremony, and a level discount we thought for individuals would be in our town. And the suggestion was something like $2,500, a 10% discount on a rental for a certain period of time. It could be a year, it could be 2 years. If they gave $5,000 a 20% rental one time only, and if they gave $10,000 a 30% rental. So what's the advantage back to them? Something that we say back to them, we say thank you for doing that. And then we spent some time on to, and Nina mentioned this about the memorial wall walking in, which will be important when we have a conversation with an architect. And what does that look like? And what do we envision that being? And what do we see it doing? So here's where the names would go. The wall contributors, the first wall, as you walk in, we see on the right side, a wall that's called Those Who Served. And we would make available for people in town and elsewhere for $100 to name a veteran with a 2-line plaque would go on the wall. The name of the veteran, maybe it's Raybo and U.S. Marines, Vietnam, whatever the second line they wanted to be. And the reason we set it at a low level rather than a high level is we want people to buy multiple levels. So at $500, maybe I'm buying one. At $100, maybe I'm buying multiple. So we want to make it as many people as possible to say, to have a stake in it, that this is their building and they have a part in it. So in that wall would go the names, and we list them, how we list them either alphabetically we need to discuss, or the years they served is how we need to discuss how that has to go up there. And then another part of the wall would be the name of police or fire or EMS member that people wanted to remember that they served, who served and have done it. A separate part of the wall, we made reference to in town hall there's a plaque of those who served and paid the ultimate price, that we would want to put their names on the wall under a banner that said, remembering those who paid the ultimate price, so that we can honor those people from our town forever, be on that wall so they know that they're there. So that wall would be those who served up on the right side. Over on the left side would be what we call the thanks and appreciation wall, which we would put the corporate honor roll with the 4 levels we outlined. And then next to that would be the individual honor roll with 3 levels that we outlined. And so we would have those names up there, and here it came. And if we needed more space or if people wanted to add more later, we thought the entranceway, we could always do something like the walkway bricks as a later date to just add more. So we always have an opportunity for people to add names as they wanted to add names. And so that was the basic premise to say, how do we go and gather and what do we provide back and what do we do? And then we came up with a bunch of room equipment, and Bruce, I think you'll pick it up from here, right?
Yeah, so we had, so besides, you know, $100,000 donor may have a room named after the company or the family, but we thought these are just some examples of things that folks could sponsor if they would like. Outdoor benches, the pond itself, so does the Cat's name go away and the Baldwin name when Ray gives $25,000 will it be the Baldwin pond? You know, if trees need to be planted, the deck could be named or have a plaque on it. A pier out over the water if we still do that. So, you know, there are a number of other opportunities, but these are just examples. Other fundraising opportunities, outdoor bench. We like the benches so much we listed it twice. Stickers. So this is, I think, a pretty neat idea. The stickers for a home door or mailbox, it says Veterans Center Support or Veterans Center Supporter. We thought maybe designing a sticker that people could put on their front door or on the mailbox that says, I'm a veteran supporter, and we have some ways to do that, and we need to work out the mechanics. We thought that'd be a way to, you know, $5 or $10, and everybody feels support part of it. Bumper stickers.
Can I jump on that one?
Go ahead, Dan.
The other part of that was, and one of the main parts of that was businesses. If businesses want to contribute small amounts, 25, 50, 75, 100. You know, on the door when you walk in, we accept MasterCard, Visa, American Express. Why not a sticker that said we contributed to the Trumbull Veterans First Responder Building, so that we give some recognition to businesses as well as on their door, the sticker. I thought maybe there might be some value back and they would help us out. Maybe a container they put in the store gives a contribution. Sorry, that.
Yep, and then perhaps a fundraising concert. I know our chairman has some experience in fundraising concerts. I actually just produced a virtual concert as a fundraiser for a couple of organizations a few weeks ago. So maybe that's a possibility. And then some other promotional opportunities, certainly on the town website. We need to be able to take online donations because people are used to giving that way now. Town hall, maybe a big banner at the town hall, lawn signs, radio interviews, and then the idea came up, maybe folks purchase an annual membership. So if they give $100, they will receive an annual membership the first year, and then in ensuing years, we bill them $25 for their continuing membership. And so we can bill that in as a residual donation, an ongoing donation. So with that, I mean, those are, you know, some of the basic thoughts and ideas that we had over the last couple of weeks, and we'll take comments.
Yeah. Hey, just let me add this.
Well,
Right? Let me add this thing.
Right.
We want, you know, the conversation you had earlier with that lady Nina. We truly have no objective here except to make this right for the town. And we want it to be a return on investment for the town, where there's money coming back and everybody in this town gets a chance to utilize and to be proud of what the building is. And so the perception that we wanted to just be a veterans place or something is wrong. Because I live in this town, we all live in this town. We want this to be right for the town and the people in the town, and not add expenses to the town to help drive revenue. So I think that's important.
Thank you. Well, first of all, I'd like to say, I think on behalf of the entire committee, I'd like to thank Bruce, Dan, and Steve for the exceptional job they did of putting this plan together. And I think working in conjunction with Rena Bacalar and Sujata, combining the two, the fundraising and the development plan, I think we have a really super product here. Thank you, gentlemen. I really appreciate what you've done. Dan, you want to take your bows now or you want to wait?
I'll wait till the building is built.
Okay. Does anybody have any comments about the plan?
This is Mary Beth. I just want to say many thanks to you. This is an exceptional plan. It covers every base. When you're listening to someone describe something like this, you're imagining in your own mind what they may have missed. Well, you certainly didn't miss anything, and you've added things that most people never would have thought of. And kudos to you. It's spectacular. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
I agree.
Thank you, and you're welcome.
I don't think there's anything we have to vote on. I think it would be Bruce, Dan, and well, Steve isn't on, but I think.
I'm here now.
Oh, you are? Good, great.
Yep.
Steve, nice work, by the way. Dan and Bruce just went through the plan. And again, thank you very much for the work on this. It's exceptional. So,
Steve, we told them that you've gotten away, actually. No. Steve was an integral part of this. Absolutely.
Okay. So
Ray, if I thought it was an excellent plan too. The part that I'm missing in going out to different groups is the overall budget for the plan. So because I've found if we're going not in your plan, I mean you guys have done a fantastic job. I loved it. There's nothing I could even I think of adding to it. But as going out and asking for money, the first question that is usually asked is, what do you need? And I guess the answer is $100,000. But
Well, actually, I started at $2 million, but we'll work our way down from there.
Okay.
yeah. Well,
But
this is
that's
all-
I imagine it's coming in the future.
Well, the piece of this, the big piece of this, as I think we all have talked about and known, is the level of commitment we're going to get from the state of Connecticut and the federal delegation. So we're kind of ahead of ourselves in a way, and we're not, because once we pick the architect and we start to move forward, we have a design we can all live with and go forward with. Then we're going to need to step up our asks of the big hitters, the ones that are going to provide us the money to build this building. So again, great job here. We appreciate it. If there's no further comment, the next item on the agenda is discussion of the RFQ for architect and selection of candidates for an interview. For those of the public that are still listening, we went out for a request for qualifications for an architect for the project. That was managed by our Director of Purchasing, Kevin Bova, who did an excellent job for us. And we got in response, we have 15 architects that responded to the request for proposal and sent a request for qualification and sent in proposals. We are going to go into executive session now, the committee is, to discuss the candidates that have submitted in their requests and to narrow the field down to 3 or 4 firms that we're going to interview. And we're going to do that in executive session. And then we'll be coming out of executive session after we've completed that. And there's no further business beyond that. And then we'll conclude our meeting and go into an adjournment. At such time as we do the interviews, just to let the public know, those interviews will be done accordance to the Freedom of Information, which allows us to go into executive session to discuss it, because we'll be discussing contracts and the like, and we're allowed to do that in the executive session. But we will be disclosing whoever the individual is that or firm that we choose, and then we'll go from there and continue on with our work of the committee. So without further discussion, do we have a motion to go into executive session for the purposes of discussing the RFQ for architect and selection of candidates for interviews? Do I have a motion?
I make a motion.
We have a second?
I'll second it. I'll second it.
We have a second. For purposes of this executive session, I would like, obviously, the members of the committee to be included, as well as the town attorney, Jim Nugent, Kevin Bova, who is our purchasing agent, and I believe Rena Bacalar is also on the meeting. Rena, you there?
I'm here.
Okay, and Rena as well. Is there anybody else that I'm missing?
Ernie.
I think that's everyone.
Yeah, no, well, Ernie, I don't know. Well,
It's not necessary, actually. You know, you guys have the names. You go over them and I'll hear them when they're done.
okay. So we have a motion. We have a second. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? None. Okay. Bill, you're going to put us into executive session?
Mr. Chairman, I just sent everyone an email with the link to executive session. So what you'll need to do is leave this meeting.
Okay, so we'll leave this meeting. We'll leave this meeting, Bill?
Yes.
Everyone has to completely leave.
Okay.
Bill,
Bill,
just send it to me.
Bill, thank you for your help.
Sure thing. Thank you.
Thank you.
Kevin, you're on the email.
I don't have it yet.
I'll send it again. I might have gone to your home address.
Yeah, they had my home on there. You're right. Asking a lot of times. Take
On
that.
its way.
All right, thanks.
Bill, this is Marissa. Should I just hang on until they rejoin?
Yeah, I guess that would make sense.
Okay.
Thank you.
Hello,
Hello,
we have Dan,
Here.
Mary Beth,
I'm here.
who else?
Steve?
Steve,
Bruce?
Bruce. We're getting good at this. Preston? He's like the third chipmunk. Alvin, where's Alvin?
Marissa's here.
Huh?
Marissa?
Hi, Marissa. Marissa, we motioned to go out of executive session at 8:49.
Thank you.
8:29.
29.
29, and it was, I don't remember who motioned, but I think Steve Lemoyne was the second.
Yes.
Yes,
Yeah.
And the motion,
by Dan Sacco.
okay. Thank you.
Okay, there's no further business to come before the committee. Do we have a motion to adjourn?
I make a motion, we adjourn.
Dan, thank you. We have a second?
I got a second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, folks, thank you very much. Mary Beth, enjoy your dinner.